Hello and welcome to this episode of Lynxspring Live. I'm Bruce Stimpson, Vice President and CIO of Lynxspring, and I'm here today with Marc Petock, our Vice President of Marketing. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks again, Bruce. Good to be here.
Our topic today is going to be industry trends. And let me start with a statement. There's been a tremendous amount of advancement in facilities management environment over the last several years, and building automation is one area where this is pretty apparent. What's driven the advancements in building automation systems?
Well, I think, Bruce, a good opening question, again, for our listeners. For the most part, from the technology side, there have been three fundamental drivers. The concept of integration and interoperability, the growth and the wide acceptance of IP or Internet Protocol, and the open influence, if you will, or this word about open on our physical systems in building automation. Then there's the operational side. We're under so much pressure to operate these buildings and these facilities today more cost effective, more energy efficient, and the fact that we need to maintain them as much as possible, but at the same time, we have to maintain them at a reasonable cost. So it's this operational side now.
A lot of financial drivers.
Exactly.
Used to be.
Exactly.
So what's next? What'll drive the next generation of building automation systems, the factors that are influencing the direction of the industry now?
And, again, I think that there's multiple things. We're starting to see what I call another monumental shift in how our facilities are operated and how they're managed. That business side is now a key driver versus that technology side. You could look back several years ago, and again, not that far back, where all this great technology came out. Don't get me wrong, it's still being developed. It is still part of our industry, and it's still a mainstay of our industry. But now it's that business side, that it's business decisions that are going into this. There are new value equations, and I've said this in a previous podcast, how the value propositions, the value sides, have continually changed and will continue to change. So what are some of these trends, if you will? Applications. We live in a world of applications. There are lots of fantastic applications out there. They are continually being developed. And I think overall that's going to continue to be one of the key drivers and the key value creation pieces.
Do I understand correctly, when you say applications, what I'm thinking of is that when I put a system in my building before, I was kind of stuck with whatever the manufacturer of that system, very proprietary, that sort of thing. And now that this is internet-based and it's based on data that's being collected, we got all these applications that can access the data and give the information that, say, the financial guy needs or the IT guy needs. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that kind of where we're going?
That's where we're going. And then on top of that, lay other applications that enable me to do something that I couldn't do before, if you will. I don't have to install a whole new system, but I can just add an app.
Gotcha.
So take your PC as an example. You have all these different things, or your apps, or your smartphone, and all of a sudden I want to be able to do something, or that's something pretty cool out there. I want to download, and now I have an app.
No longer the janitor sitting in the bottom of the building on the one terminal.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And part of that other thing is having all these different apps work together and manage together. That's a key. You can have all the greatest apps, but unless they are converging together, working together, and you are enabled to manage these together, you're not going to get that true value out of it.
Right.
Another key driver is this whole concept of measurement and verification, especially as energy continues to be such an important piece in today's facility. Then there's the devices themselves, or the device level, where the devices are getting smarter and that they're able to do more, give us more information, give us more data. Then there's this whole concept of wireless. Yes, wireless has been around for a long time, but as wireless.
I just hear people cringing sometimes.
Oh, I do too. I do too. But if I didn't say it, I think I would be remiss. But there are certain instances where wireless can and is an advantage and a driving trend.
Getting much better than it used to be.
Is.
That's the cringing I was talking about. Is when it first came out.
It is, and and then we continue to look at energy and meters, especially more meters. In other words, sub-metering and things like that. While we've that's in existence today, it's more and more. That's still a continuing driving trend that is going to help drive our next
demand response kind of environment.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly, and especially in those key critical areas, in places where they've already accepted and are following some really good demand response programs.
Sure.
California, Texas, the Northeast, and many more.
Then you verify it. You actually put your demand response in place, but you got to be able to have the data to verify that it actually works.
Absolutely. Then, as you pointed out very early on in this podcast, data. We continually hear a lot about it. We read a lot about it. The demand for data has never been higher. We've had, continually to advance how we utilize data, how data is produced, how it's driven, how it's sent, where it's stored, who owns it, whatever. Part of that is, again, being able to visualize it. In other words, data is good information, but unless you utilize it, it doesn't do you any good. And unless you visualize it so I can understand it, then, the whole concept of visualization too. And one that I'm kind of excited about, which is continuing to drive this, is what I've defined as actionable analytics. I think we've all come to the conclusion as well that it's not about whether or not to make use of analytics. I think that's become a given today.
Right.
It's more about how to use them, but how to use them in real time. Use them right now for the moment, not
looking back 30 days to see what happened in the last 30 days.
Exactly. Today's control systems and smart devices provide access to a tremendous amount of data, environmental conditions, energy use, equipment health, for example, and this data is great intelligence, and to be able to use it in an actionable format in real time really is, one of the trends that's happening.
Absolutely.
A couple other things is, of course, the cloud. I think that's becoming more a daily acceptance into the facility and building automation space. While the day-to-day operations of a building will be continually managed at the edge or locally in that facility,
right.
We talked about applications, we talked about data. All of that now could reside in the cloud somewhere.
Sure, yeah. I mean, why have massive amounts of server space and hard drives to store data when the cloud services are available?
Exactly, and I only, as our head of our IT here at Lynxspring, you know that all too well.
Exactly.
One other key driver here today, and you've heard Lynxspring talk about this as we're taking one of the leadership roles in it in our space, is cyber protection, cyber threat protection, and prevention. Again, as all of these controls, these devices, these systems are internet enabled,
right,
and whatnot, we have to continually take account of threat protection and add additional layers of security over and above what might already be on place.
Right. It's kind of insidious. I like to hear when you guys compare the fact that if somebody breaks into your apartment or house and steals your TV, you know it's gone. But if they break in and get to your data, it's still there.
It's still there.
So you just have no idea.
Exactly.
Security is becoming more and more important. We used to say, who cares if they can raise our set point or turn our lights on and off, big deal. But it's actually more than that.
There's more to that. There's a lot of business implications with that. And
once they get on the network to get to that, they can get the rest of your network.
Exactly, amongst many things. And one of the key things is, do you even know if you've been hacked?
Right.
And that's one of the key things.
Yeah.
And I can recall some statistics of some of the cyber breaches that have been found out recently in the ICS space, which building automation is part of that ICS space. I think in this recent survey, 63% of the individual survey had no clue they were hacked at all, but yet they were hacked. They did find out eventually. So kind of looking ahead here is, our building automation technology and systems and things like that are a very, very good, strong foundation for the future. Where the trends, more applications, more analytics, all of that type of things are going to be kept in mind. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that taking advantage of devices as they are becoming smarter and smarter and going further out on the edge, bringing them in and going directly up to that enterprise, up to that cloud.
Well, if anybody listening is interested in finding out more or has some concepts they want to share with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Marc, Marc.Petock, P-E-T-O-C-K, at Lynxspring.com. Would love to hear from you, and, thanks for listening. And
Marc, that's great information, and I'm sure everybody will contact you if they have any questions. Thanks for being here today, and thank you for listening to this episode of Lynxspring Live.